And we are recording this. That way, other commissioners and others can hear what you have to say. I think most of you on this call know me, but I'm Tracy with the State Library, and I want to thank you for joining us today. Uh, and I just want to recognize my colleague, Colette Barteau, who can wave. She's, of course, the CE coordinator. And then we are also joined today by Carmen Cuthbertson from Texas. That's where she's coming in today. And Tammy Hall, who I believe is in Bozeman, based on her Zoom background. So both of them serve on the subcommittee along with McKenna Gregg. And that subcommittee is the one who has been working on recommendations for changes to the CE certification program. This is the second of two drop-in sessions that we had. The very first one, we got really great feedback from your peers. And so I do want to say there's kind of a slight change to this agenda. I mean, our purpose here today is just have a conversation and get your feedback and questions and suggestions for this particular process for changing the CE and certification program. Colette's going to give us a brief description because we think that sometimes that's helpful to just see how everything relates to one another. And then the change to the agenda is I would like to share a little bit about what your peers had to say. And then the CE subcommittee met yesterday to work through those ideas and questions. And I want to give you just a brief overview of some of the changes we have made to the drafts that are posted on the certification website. And Colette has been sharing those, by the way. And then really, I hope to spend the bulk of our time just hearing from you about what questions you have and any feedback you might have. So that's the plan for the day. And so with that, I will turn it over to Colette and let her kind of walk us through the changes. You are muted, Colette, just so you know.
Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm going to share another screen here briefly. Please take a sip of your beverage of choice this afternoon or get your snack if you so desire. Hydration is very, very important, especially at this time of the year. Um, so, as with last time, hopefully you are seeing the certification program webpage. I put the link in the chat, and we've kind of walked our way through and past the administrative rules changes. Those are at the top of the page. And then we're really in the midst of policy development. So those rules and those things that we do in order to fulfill the requirements of the administrative rules of Montana. As Tracy said, and many of you who are joining us were part of that last session on the 23rd. Put together a summary of what was discussed, or you can watch the recording. And then here we are today. We'll be doing a similar sort of summary of our discussion today. And then the one thing that isn't posted here, as Tracy was saying, our committee met yesterday and had a long discussion in reviewing the information that we've gotten through our feedback forms and through our last session. And so we have a very drafty second draft of the policy for discussion. And again, I want to emphasize that this is based on discussion and feedback. And so we're in the process now of walking toward when the commission itself will hear about everything that we've been doing the last month or so. Next week at the commission meeting on the 11th of February. And then steps beyond that are to, get further feedback and then get to the point where the commission is making a formal policy adoption. So I just wanted to make sure that you were all aware of the certification page. I'm going to be posting resources and our materials after our session today to this page as well as to the Aspen page. But really, as we talk about the policy, that is going to then inform what what final drafts of a course of study and catalog, and then we'll be building our frequently asked questions documents as we go forward from there. So with that, I just want to make sure you can always go to the Aspen events for these drop-in sessions. You can go to the certification page to access documents and the overview. And then certainly, actually, you can go to the commission meeting page in the Aspen calendar for additional resources as well. So Tracy, that is all that I have, and I'm going to go back to our presentation.
Thank you, Colette. So Colette used the website to kind of talk through the standards, which was the process that we started with, and the changes to it. What we want to focus on today is the policy part. And so this slide basically summarizes a lot of what we heard at the January 23rd drop-in session. And I would say if I were to kind of summarize it all in a few sentences, people were just worried about the course catalog having relevant content for their library and their situation, keeping it fresh. And they had questions about kind of the approval process, how that would work. They had some suggestions for things for the committee to consider in terms of that approval process. And then we had quite a few conversations about the loss of the staff track and a little bit about the loss of the trustee track, as well as requests to be sure we maintain face-to-face training opportunities for network and collaboration. And so what Colette and I did, we took all of this back. Tammy was able to join us for that January 23rd drop-in session, and Carmen went and listened to the recording because many of you did a fantastic job of just kind of sharing your ideas and your thoughts. And so we had a really great discussion. And I think the subcommittee really wanted to emphasize that they do want this to work. And they do want you to be a part of building that catalog and making sure that it's relevant and that it's fresh. They want you to have excellent learning opportunities. And so one of the things that they did was they took that request to think about the approval process and how to do that. And I think it was Carmen who kind of pointed out, someone said, we could test drive things for you if you would allow us to perhaps take a webinar that we see. And if we think it's really good and will benefit others, go through the process of approval, and then the commission can review that, give them credit, and then add that to the catalog. And so that's probably one of the bigger changes we've made, is that if some opportunity comes across, because sometimes you only get a few days notice that there's a good learning webinar and it's going to be recorded. If it's going to be of benefit to others, then please know that you can take it. You may not get credit. You only get credit if a course is added to the catalog. And so what will happen is you would submit that request. The commission would review it at their regular meeting and then follow through on the different approval criteria that you're going to see on the next screen to recommend whether or not it should be added. The other piece that I wanted to acknowledge was the committee did spend some time talking about the library staff and the library trustee track. They really appreciated that people were encouraging their staff and their board members to become certified, or even that individuals were pursuing it on their own. The commission's mandate is really library directors, with the certification being tied to state aid. And with kind of limited resources, the committee wants us to just focus on that library director's track. But they did say we should and will revisit that idea of the staff and the trustee acknowledgement at a later time. there's quite a bit that will come into transitioning. And so that's part of the reason why the committee wanted to focus on the library directors right at this point in time. So the last thing that I kind of want to share with you, and then I'll see if the committee members want to kind of add anything, is people to ask, well, what kind of questions are you working through as you're looking at the form? And so the committee tested out the form that we have, and we will make changes to it. This is where they landed. Basically, the first thing is that whatever the class is, the learning outcomes for it need to fall under one or more of those competencies. And so if you look at the course of study, it has like the basic law or financial management competency, or there's library services and so forth. And so they want to make sure that the learning outcomes fall under one of those. They do want good presenters. And so they're looking for presenters that at least have some expertise or experience with the subject matter. They also really only want to add things to the course catalog. They're going to be beneficial to multiple libraries in Montana. They want it to be relevant, for sure. And they are looking for things that will meet the needs of multiple libraries. And then they also are looking for things that support the library in meeting the public library standards. It's not that they have to answer yes to all of these. It's just these are the things that they found themselves thinking through as they were reviewing the things within the form. And so with that, I think we are to our discussion. Oh, nope, there was one other thing. This is why slides are actually really helpful. There were some questions about the transition process because the goal is for this to start July 1 of 2026. And so with the help of one of your library director peers, shout out to Denise Ard. She actually helped us with this. She's a very good wordsmith. We came up with this. And so basically, any credits you earn through June 30th remain valid. Any credits earned after July 1 would have to follow the requirements of the 2026 policy, and current certificates remain valid until expiration. So I think now we have gone through the major points. I guess, Carmen, Tammy, Colette, is there anything you would like to add, or shall we jump in and see what people think?
I think that was very thorough. I'd like to hear what other suggestions are out there, concerns.
Okay.
I would like for Carmen for a minute to explain, because I thought it was brilliant, this whole concept that if people want, by the way, Colette and Tracy, superb, that this concept you had that if librarians see a course they think would benefit other people, it is recorded, and they want to take it, and then they recommend it, that you had great idea for why that became part of the program.
Okay. Tracy kind of mentioned that
Yes.
a concern was that the timeline to get it approved is often too short. You hear about something 2 days ahead. What are you going to do? So the thought was, if it's something great that you take and then you fill out the form to submit it to be included in the course catalog for everybody, and the commission looks at it and says, that's a great course, we're going to add it to our course catalog, then you should get credit for already having taken it, because once it's in the catalog, we're saying take it for credit. So the fact that you took it 3 or 4 weeks ago should not keep you from getting credit. And also, we were hoping that that would encourage people to go try courses and take courses and come to us and say, this one was great, add it to the catalog, so that we don't have to go try and hunt it down, because I wouldn't even know where to start looking for excellent courses. So my hope is that this will help us build a really great catalog.
Thanks, Carmen.
And then there was one other thing we discussed yesterday that I thought evolved that was really good, and that was if some course is turned down because we don't believe that at that point in time it meets one of the, whatever the reason the commission decides, you always have the right to bring that course back, taking into consideration the reasons that it was turned down. So that's I think a real important aspect of what we came up with yesterday, is that a no, if you listen to the comments and the reasoning, It might be it didn't fit into the program you put it in or the particular spot, but there's another criteria it could have gone under, or there was something missing from the recommendations of the person or something. So it was really, I thought, another opportunity for people to know, and no isn't a no, it's a bring it back if you want, having listened to the no's.
Thanks,
And
Tammy.
I really want to be clear that anybody can suggest and fill out that form that a course be added. You don't have to be the presenter. You don't have to be the expert. You don't have to be the organization, an organization putting something on. Everybody can suggest things, and I think that will really be helpful to have a good catalog.
Yes. Thank you for that. All right. So what do you librarians think? So Sarah has a question, and she mentioned her audio isn't working right, so she has to use chat. Once our certification has expired, will we be required to start from the beginning and take the initial director courses, or can we continue with new courses that have been added to the catalog? So I think what Sarah's point is she and many others have already taken those courses. And I do believe the committee has been, they don't want you to have to take the same course over and over again. They want to keep it fresh. And so.
And I wonder if some of that concern has to do with terminology. The course of study is going to be something rigid, and it says you need to take 5 credits in this topic and 5 credits here and 15 there. That's called the course of study. But our course catalog is going to be constantly evolving, because every commission meeting, we will hopefully get suggestions for courses to be added so that the catalog is constantly being curated with new material at a much faster pace than we would be looking at policy or the course of study. The catalog itself will be changing all the time, hopefully, with new and relevant material coming in.
I think Heather has her hand raised. So Heather, please go ahead.
So I guess my question is, what does this do for our in-face connection and collaboration time? Is that meaning if we're having a fall workshop or something like that, everything is going to be geared just toward directors now, since we're not really steering towards the staff at the moment? So what is it going to do for our face time with each other, which I think is still a valuable piece in our world?
So to make sure I understand it right, I think, are you saying your concern is that the face-to-face opportunities will only be for directors, or that they won't? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that just going to be more geared towards directors going to, to fall workshops or MLA, or so what does that do for us for that and our staff?
That's a great question. I think MLA will still be for all staff, because that is a role for the Library Association, but they would have to speak to that. I think for us, at the State Library, we have a tendency to focus on directors anyway, but we actually also do try to think about topics that will be of interest to staff as well. So I don't know, though, that's actually a good question to think about. I have to wrap my head around that one, Heather, because I think I know what you're saying, but are you going to be feeling the pressure to offer courses only for directors, since that's the certification program? I think, is that kind of...
Yeah, I understand focusing on directors and getting us trained and getting us the training that we need. My biggest concern is staff getting lost in the shuffle over this as we move forward with it. And even though they don't have to be certified, I would just hate for them to get left behind as we move forward with our continuing education. I know they can still do it, but I just feel there's a gap there of the importance of them having it too. That's all.
Okay.
May I make a comment?
Yeah, this is a conversation, so go for it.
we talked a lot about that, and especially with trustees, because Carmen understands staff. Carmen understands the trustee needs very personally. We are very committed to that along with you, but the statute that we have to meet says the library directors, we are legally responsible for their accreditation. And so it's not that we don't care about the staff or think it's important or want to encourage them. And so I think we're really trying to put classes in that would be helpful to them too. I mean, I understand what you're saying. So it, and one of the other things we're very sensitive about is that the classes meet the needs of the large districts, but the middle and the small, because the large districts for their own staff and trustees have the money and the training to go out and do. So we really feel a strong need to make sure that there are classes that credit that fit those smaller schools too, or libraries, sorry, could mean schools.
Sarah, go ahead.
Okay, I got my audio back. Thank you.
Yay.
This is I'm kind of piggybacking on Heather a little bit here. I was looking through the next week's commission meeting materials and this awesome report of all of the training from the fiscal year that was provided, like the titles of the training and who was the sponsor and the number of credits. And there are a lot on there that are locally sponsored, like by a local library, like Billings Public Library. Specifically, I'm assuming for their staff, their trustees. And one of the approval criteria talked about the outcomes addressing multiple libraries. So as I'm thinking about what Heather says, or what she said, these local trainings that are also applicable to all libraries, but our local police department is going to provide active situation training to us, not to the entire, library land of Montana, but it is something that's relevant to everybody. That's a pretty specific example. I apologize.
It's okay. It's the afternoon.
Zoom overload, I guess.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, when we're talking about outcomes that are addressing multiple libraries, and I am so appreciative of the committee understanding the different needs of different libraries across the state and different budgets to provide these. Is that the goal? Like the outcomes to address multiple libraries, meaning if there was like a statewide safety training by like MMIA or something, that could be, but not like CPR first aid given by, Miles City Fire Department, even though everybody might want CPR first aid. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think what you're trying to ask is basically, is the committee kind of thinking that really credits will, in order for an item to end up in the course catalog, it has to benefit multiple libraries. Whereas in the current system, you can get credit for something that's only for your library. And we've had libraries who've done active shooter training with their local police department, which is a pretty critically important training, and they've received credit for it. But going forward with this new model, that is likely to be lost because that's a very local thing. And you're asking if the committee means for that to happen, or are you asking like, will the committee wrestle with that a little bit and see what might be lost?
I think I've walked through it in my head.
Mhm.
Maybe the potential of a general topic approval, like CPR first aid, but you are allowed to use your local expert trainer.
Oh, oh, I see what you're saying. So for instance, I mean, I suspect that, the
It took me a
commission.
while to get there.
Yeah, let me just make sure I am making your suggestion correctly. So what you're saying is, would the commission ever consider looking at, like, the topic is active shooter training, how to respond, how to keep your staff safe, how to keep your patrons safe, but that it it's okay if the presenter is instead of saying that it has to be Montana Municipal Interlocal Authority gives the training, individual libraries can work with their local law enforcement for the training, but the topic's actually the same. It's that the local presenter is different because it's local.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously having a check that it's not
Mhm.
me teaching CPR first aid, but it is like an accredited person. But that way we can still support our staff and focus on their needs and recognize that we all need this training and a lot of libraries receive it across the state, but we all would probably use a local person.
Can I ask clarification? If help me, Tracy. I appreciate so much what you're saying. It just makes so much sense. Okay. And let's start with, it's a topic that absolutely has to be addressed by everybody who can take it. Secondly, it would fit under our safety certification topic. That is one of our certification topics. So it's this
Right.
class, and being presented by who it is makes it pass everything. So
Mhm.
what would stop those people who are in that library are going to put that to us, and we have them, or the staff, because we did say if the staff wants to, because our staff is wonderful at training, but they do say this isn't a topic we can do as well as somebody else. So the staff would come to us and say, the Yellowstone County is going to present this, and it's going to be that fits under here. Here's the presenters, here's their qualifications, this is what they're going to do. We would approve that for them. So,
But that doesn't match up with the multiple libraries thing. Go ahead, Carmen. I think
but
you.
that was, I
I
thought,
want to weigh in on that.
yeah.
Because remember when we came up with those 4 criteria, Tracy, you took us through those right now.
Yeah.
We did say that not every single one has to apply to each class. So the idea was that if it is online and recorded, we absolutely want to be able to add it to the catalog. So this whole and the pre-approval is one of the key changes that we're making. So if you know this training is coming to your town and your library, you can fill out that form and submit it. And we would say it fits probably 3 out of the 4 criteria that we currently have drafted. So yes, this would pass. We wouldn't be able to add it to the catalog. So that's one thing we need to remember. But if we approve, say, the MSU Extension board training, and we approve that as something you can do, and they travel around the state and teach it 20 different times, I think that would qualify as, yes, you get credit for it. The key is the pre-approval thing. We don't want to be getting back to where we were, where we just say yes to whatever people took in the past, regardless. That's why we're trying to develop these approval criteria. But if it fits all of that, except for one thing, we would probably approve it. I think it would be good as we go forward to have some of these examples in our policy document to make it clear what the goal is. So that we can have these criteria, but we're not preventing good stuff from happening.
Can I help maybe clarify something? But if I'm off, you tell me, okay? Most of these changes came about because we are trying to reach out and meet the valid needs of what was brought up at the first meeting drop-in. And one of the things we'd heard from quite a lot of people was, if I see a course that looks wonderful, but it's offered like now, and I have to have it, but I think it'd be great. We said, oh, good, we're trying to do something with that. Go take it, but you may not get it approved. But if you're pretty sure it'll fit the criteria, then you could bring it to us. And if we say, yeah, that course on sign language or control or whatever should be in the catalog, let's add it to the catalog, but it would have to be filmed or videoed. Okay, so after the fact, it could possibly be added. We have to remember that's after the fact. And that's where the criteria came in, that it had to be good for other places in the state, because we wouldn't add something to the catalog that was only applicable in one library. But those librarians could get credit because it's applicable to them. That director, it's applicable to them. They're dealing with the situation.
Yeah, I think what this brings up, though, is that one of the language changes was that it has to be in the course catalog to count for credit. But Sarah's brought up a point of something that I suspect the commission would definitely support. So she asked it in a different way, and that is there a chance for a pre-approval blanket approval for something universal like CPR first aid? So we'll wrestle with that. I think that's, what you've brought up is actually a good point, that sometimes those local face-to-face trainings are very relevant and something that is important. I think what we need to do is work with the language and the policy and the process to figure out how to recognize things like that. Local face-to-face trainings that may be important. So we will do that. I do want to, oh, sorry, Tammy, you're muted. Yeah.
Would you help me understand I wasn't clear on the local face-to-face. What's that? Give me clarity.
Yeah. So Sarah's example, because CPR and first aid is usually done on site in a local face-to-face setting, would not fit what you described about the recorded webinar that would go in the course catalog, because it's not recorded and it's not a webinar. It's actually face-to-face. And so what Carmen had suggested, which I think is great, is like a lot of times when you're arranging those, in advance. And so you would submit a request for the commission to review your first aid CPR training and to approve it for credit. And, that's pretty important human life things. So the commission would probably say yes. However, the policy that we crafted says it has to go in the course catalog to earn credit. And that's the sticky part where we have to wrestle with that.
So I'm envisioning, I'm just brainstorming something that would say an MSU extension board training in person, the traveling circus that they do is counts for credit in XYZ, and we could add that to the catalog. It's not a specific course because it doesn't lend itself to online whatever, and not everything does, especially like first person shooter training. It needs to be in person, so we need to find a way to add that to the catalog so it can count, because we don't want to exclude those opportunities. We don't want to exclude that.
Yes, that's exactly the example I was looking for, Carmen. That's yes, that's it. Thank you.
But you could apply for that and you would get credit. So I'm still having this problem with, if you applied for that in advance for directors for your district or anybody you invited from nearby, it would be approved. So I'm still not.
But Tammy, we created the problem when
Yes.
we said we're gonna put something in the policy that says we're gonna approve it, but it has to be able to be added to the catalog. We cannot add an in-person class like that to the catalog. So we created this issue, and we're gonna solve it because we don't
Yes.
want to exclude that. So
Right. And I agree with you, but we didn't create this issue for pre-classes. We only created the part about it has to be added to the catalog if it was retroactive. That was the only thing that applied to. We didn't talk about that till yesterday.
well, but this was a good suggestions, and
Right.
let's solve it. We'll
Right.
solve it.
But
Well-
remember, the adding it doesn't count unless it's added to the catalog was only applied to the retroactive.
Well, that may not have been everyone's understanding, but I guess what I would say is so that we give the librarians time to give us feedback, we'll wrestle with it. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing that up and helping us understand how the way the language is currently written is not clear.
Which
And
we're trying to help you with. I mean, we listen to what you're saying, and then we're trying to, oh yeah, great idea. Now what? So I shouldn't do that horrible making sausage in your time. So we will save that for later.
All right. I do want to recognize Starla had a question. You know, she said, not all trainings have to be used for certification, correct? The catalog only applies to certification, not trainings for knowledge for our staff. And yes, Starla, that's correct. That's correct. You are absolutely welcome to do whatever training you need. It's just, this is about the certification process.
I would like to make a comment in general about the continuing education, any professional. Right now, the commission's coming at this from our legal mandate to certify directors. But I'm hoping that down the road, we can be a clearinghouse for professional education opportunities for the entire library community. Even though we are not in charge of certifying staff, we don't have a mandate to do that. We certainly have an interest in providing opportunities for good professional education. I think that's also the job of professional organizations like the MLA, the ALA, the PLA, but we can certainly be a clearinghouse and recommend good content. I think that would fall under our purview as well.
Any other questions or comments or thoughts? This is very helpful. Thank you. Language is hard, and getting it right is can be challenging. So your questions and comments are very, very helpful.
I'm sorry to keep bogarting. I didn't raise my hand. Oh my gosh, sorry.
It's okay.
Sarah's raising her hand. So we're talking about a initial track, and that is for directors to meet the mandate to certify directors.
Mm-hmm.
And then the course catalog is the approved training that's pre-approved or that anybody can choose from to take.
Mm-hmm.
Can staff access that initial director certification track if they are not actively a library director?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They just need to follow that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. That's we can try and make that clearer, because that does seem to be a point that I think isn't clear, is that we actually changed the name of it. So it doesn't even say library director. It just says Montana State Library Certification Track. And we did that because by law, we can only require directors to earn their certification, but staff are welcome to take that initial and then the renewal. And the renewal, we wrote with we hope the flexibility for people to take what they needed based on their job and their library. I hope that helps.
Can I ask something else related to that?
Yeah.
So if somebody were to start that track who's not a currently certified director, they're a currently certified staff as the program stands now, will they have to retake those classes under the new system? I know you said for directors, there's some conversation about that. But if they're currently on the staff track and want to, and then they expire, the new system rolls out, will they have to take, say, working with local government officials? If they already took it, will they have to take it again?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like we need to wrestle with that initial track question, because I do think that the initial track is where it has the really lined out course of study. And I think what you are asking is whether whoever it is, if the person's already taken those courses, do they have to go through the process again? And I will ask the committee to wrestle with that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I want to check on your question, Janet. You had said, can staff take the director or trustee tracks? With the new system, there's only one track, and its primary audience is directors. And that's very obvious in the initial, which is pretty heavy on library administration stuff. And then the renewal track is 60 credits in 5 years. And that one is just that it falls within the competencies. All right. Let me make sure I always try to write down the questions I need to take back to the committee. Hang on just a sec. And I want to acknowledge Starla, who said getting certification before becoming a director is really useful for planning for the future of our rural libraries. And that is a great point. All right, Sarah, go for it.
I saved all my questions for today. Is anything going to happen to the currently existing MSL trustee training, like directed at trustees right now? Like, is it going to go away? Because we found those helpful, not even for certification, but want to make sure we can still access those.
Well, they will definitely still be around. And many of them actually will be in the course catalog because they're
Okay.
applicable whether you're a director or a trustee.
Yes, yes, perfect. Great.
Good questions. Maybe you're the only one with a mic. Or I could make Heather talk. Just kidding, Heather.
Sorry, I had a board member in here, so. But you know me, I have no problem talking. What would you like me to say?
I was just thinking poor Sarah might be like, hey, I'm not the only one on this meeting. Come on.
I don't think either Heather or I have any problems with that.
Okay, I guess the one thing I will say is I appreciate all the hard work that has gone into revamping this and making it into something a little more professional, a little higher standard. I think that's wonderful. And I think all these bumps that we're hitting along the way, we will get them worked out between the wonderful people who've put this together and between the library world as a whole. So I think we can just keep doing that moving forward. I think this will find its way and we'll figure out how it's going to work.
Thank you, Heather. That is the hope. I think the committee members really wanted it to be clear. They do want it to work. And it will take a little bit of figuring out.
One thing I guess I'd like to share again is that why I was so excited with Carmen's idea was that she emphasized how much we need the librarians to help us find valuable courses. And that's why I love the comment about the local police department in the what to do in the shooting. We just had a horrible situation in Belgrade in the library. It wasn't in the library, but it was in the park adjoining the library, where 4 middle school kids were caught on film just pulverizing another middle school kid. And it was really awful. It went viral nationally. And all of a sudden, the library's in the middle of this, you know. And so anything about violence in your library or what to do, even though it was right outside the door at the park, people are going to say, oh, is the library safe? If you can find courses like that and say, hey, I've got a great idea about you know, please. I just did the meeting on Friday for my disabled daughter who's 56. And they're trying to find really valuable things to do. And I said, call the public library in Helena. If you give them notice that you're going to bring in 6 clients and they would love to be read to, and let somebody will read to them. And they were ecstatic. They were like, oh, what a great idea. They wrote it down. And I thought, wow, you know, that's an idea on how to meet the needs of our community with our library. And I just think you have wonderful ideas. We heard them today over and over. And you've got Carmen and I and maybe Tracy and Calais going, what did we do with that? I don't know. You helping us. That's all I can say. And I said it too long, but Carmen would have said it in 4 words. Thank you, Carmen.
One comment I would like to make, Tracy. I have not envisioned that the current classes will go somewhere, disappear, or be taken down.
Right.
So, I mean, we do want to have a catalog of pre-approved classes, but we can also just leave the YouTube channel the way it is, add more content, and just label the classes with, yeah, this is for general interest, or this counts for this many credits in this competency. I don't envision any courses being taken down. So maybe that is a concern when we're talking about the pre-approval and the course catalog. You know, if some topic interests you and you want to take a course, go right ahead. We only want to make sure that what counts for certification falls under certain criteria. So maybe that was a misconception. I did not envision that we take anything down.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And obviously we can be clearer on the communication because I don't think Coley and I envisioned anything being taken down either. So we will make that clear.
Updated for sure. There's a huge
Yes.
amount of updating that needs to happen. But
Yeah.
that's just part and parcel of maintaining a catalog.
I was going to say that, and things do change. And I mentioned it before, and I don't mean to make anybody, feathers go up, but it's like the DEI stuff. Now, all of a sudden, we'll lose funding if we title that. And so that would come down if it's titled that. So we do constantly have to update things and worry about things and deal with changes. And if we have something up on a state law that changes, well, it won't be there if the law changes or if the funding. There's huge funding changes all the time. We have something up on state funding and it's changed now. It's all of a sudden we got a new one, right? Update. Thank you,
Yeah.
Colette, for that word.
Yes, definitely. Any other comments or questions or anything that you're like, just is unclear? Please let us know. It's very helpful for making sure we're clear.
Without putting her on the spot, I'd like to hear what Rebecca thinks because she's involved in a lot of this.
Ooh.
Hello. Yes,
Okay.
and I've mainly just been listening in today because unfortunately I was double booked for the last meeting. So I'm just listening in to all the librarians' input. They've raised some really good points to consider.
And Tracy, since we are coming up kind of towards the top of the hour, I just want to let everybody know that I will put together a summary of all of the things that we've talked about today, and post that with the recording in our Aspen event. Our continued favor, our always favor to ask of folks who are showing up and participating is to please review the materials and continue to reach out. Please do reach out to either Tracy or I with, through email or give us a call. We'd love to, continue the conversation, and so that we can add that additional feedback or the brainstorm, the strike of genius that hits you at 3 o'clock in the morning when it's like all of a sudden, the be all end all idea comes to you. So please just be in touch. And we really hope that, as Carmen has said, as Tammy has said, this is built by all of us, by the librarians and with the commission, so that we have workable and meaningful policy to guide us forward. So I don't mean that to sound like we're wrapping up, but I just want to make sure everybody knows there'll be a summary and recording, and just shout out to Tracy and I if you have any brilliant ideas or thoughts.
Yes, definitely. I was just doing my facilitator awkward silences usually makes somebody start talking.
I guess I bit.
That's okay. Someone always does. To kind of summarize some next steps, we will go back as a committee and we will take a look at that language that we have added about credit approval and how that works, because that does seem to be an area where we're not as clear, and there is some confusion. And then we will also talk about that initial course of study and the question I think many of you have raised about what are we going to do about that, especially in terms of if we've already taken those courses and they have not been updated. And then we will talk about those live kind of face-to-face sessions and how to exactly handle that. That's somewhat related to the course language, the course approval language in the policy. And we will also discuss, I think, the audience for face-to-face sessions, and just, I think we want to make it clear we still want to offer trainings that hopefully board members and staff, as well as directors, find valuable. So I think, did I miss anything that we need to make sure we address as a committee? Anything I forgot? And thank you, Colette, for popping our emails in there. Do feel free to reach out. I mean, I understand. I am an introvert. Sometimes I'll think about things after they've been presented, and then I'll have the good idea or the good question. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And as you see on the slide, Colette's going to pull together this summary and so forth, and we'll post the materials for the commission. Commission's going to be looking at everything on February 11th. We'll report out to them, get their feedback and their thoughts, and then pull the CE subcommittee together again to kind of work on these issues that you've brought forward today. And then the plan is to bring that back to the commission in April when they meet. Well, that's it for me. So I will hang out for a couple more moments in case anyone has anything else. But thank you very much. It is very helpful to get your questions and your suggestions. And I think we'll hopefully be able to develop a better and stronger policy and process and catalog for everyone. Colette, Carmen, Tammy, anything you'd like to add?
I just want to thank everybody for their patience, because when we're trying to listen to valid ideas and then try to come up with things, and we think we have it, and then somebody else has a concern or a better idea, it's like, uh-oh. So thank you for your patience and your input.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
Thank you guys for all the work and all the listening and patience with us as we navigate through this too, on how this is going to fit into our world now, considering the way we used to do it and how it changes things. So thank you.
All right. Well, if you don't have anything, you are free to go. You know where to find Cole and I if you think of something. So thank you again for giving up a little bit of your time today. And thank you, Carmen and Tammy, and Rebecca, for signing in. Appreciate it.